same failed philosophy of giving more and more to those with the most and hoping the prosperity trickles down on everyone else. You know, it's funny. Yesterday I heard Senator McCain say, I'm more concerned with who gets your piece of the pie than with growing the pie. But make no mistake about it. After 8 years of Bush-McCain economics, the pie is shrinking. It's not growing. That means lower wages and declining incomes, plummeting home balance, rising unemployment. So we've seen what happens with their policies. We've had an 8-year experiment. We see where it leads. This economic crisis is the final verdict on that failed leadership. It is time to try something new. And I know how difficult these times are, but I'm confident we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because I believe in this country. I believe in the American people. I believe in the leaders who are here at this table, who have helped to build businesses and helped to create the kind of economic development in their home states that are so desperately needed. Across America, I believe in families who are going through tough times, and they're on the front lines, but they're meeting challenges head on. So many of the governors here, they're helping small businesses take off, harnessing renewable energy and information technology to create 21st century jobs. The high-wage, high-skilled jobs that support families and strengthen our economies. And that's what I intend to do if I'm elected President of the United States. Just a couple of very quick points. Give you some specifics about some of the things I think we need to do. I want to create a new American jobs tax credit for each new employee that companies hire here in the United States over the next 2 years. I want to stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. I want to invest in companies that create great jobs right here in the States. I want to help small businesses get back on their feet by eliminating capital gains and giving them emergency loans to keep their doors open and hire workers. Now, these are a few steps we have to take right now to get our economy back on track, but we need a whole new set of priorities to create jobs and grow our economy over the long term. And that means investing in renewable energy to the places that need it most. And if people tell you we can't invest in our future, you just remind them if we're spending $10 billion a month rebuilding Iraq, we certainly can spend some of that money right here. Here's what I'd like to do, because we've got such an extraordinary panel. What I'd like to do is to begin by giving each of our panelists a couple of minutes just to talk about the biggest challenges that they're seeing in the economy, what approaches they think are most important for the next president to pursue. And so each person is going to get a chance to speak, and then what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to talk about some different categories of the economy. We're going to talk about, I'm going to ask Paul Volcker to talk a little bit about the financial system. Of course, the average age there, Eric's like the old man there. Everybody else is 25, but they're just doing extraordinary work. Eric, what are you seeing in your business, and when you take long-term strategic vision about where you think we need to go to create more Googles, what are your top priorities?
Well, Senator, thank you for having me be part of this. Businesses are responding to this extraordinary fiscal crisis that we're going to talk about. And you're having these terrible personal crises that you highlighted in your speech around the country. I remain optimistic. I think that we're seeing a transition, sort of a century's transformation that we could do in 5 years, not 50 years. It seems to me that if you want to create jobs, you should build whole industries, because that's how they stay, that's how they really become amazing American success stories.
Dream. I started as a one-person, woman-owned business in a cubicle at Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and that was a large, big business believing in small business and helping me start a business. So hats off to them. And when I mentioned, and thank you, and when I mentioned 17 years of a journey, we have established roots in the South Florida community. There have been bumps in the road, and as I mentioned, American Dream, I haven't been dreaming, to be honest with you, in the last year. I sit up at night
Wow, that's right.
not able to sleep, wondering and concerned for my employees about health care, and not necessarily the cost of just health care, but access to health care. Cost is going up 25 to 50% each year. I brought with me my premium, my illustration with Blue Cross Blue Shield as a small business and employer. A 61-year-old recruitment coordinator in my office. The premium, $1,200 a month. The youngest employee in my office, $478 a month. This is for health. This is not for dental, vision, short-term disability, long-term disability. How do I grow my business and add on additional staff if these are my health care costs? I want to be a small business in this community that gives back to my community, that doesn't spend all of my resources on health care.
And the number of foreclosures. We gave the Treasury, as part of the financial package, mechanisms to stabilize the housing market. They have not yet put forward rules that would make that happen. And I think Paul is going to be able to chime in on this. If the housing market continues to deflate as quickly as it is, then you're going to continue to see an erosion of people's assets. Banks are going to continue to have problems, and it's going to be an enormous drain on the economy as a whole. So I know I'm going to start with you, Ted, because I know you also put forward a home foreclosure prevention approach that was one of the first in the country. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and also what kind of partnership you need from the government right now to help stem some of the losses that you're seeing.
Well, Senator, we were hopeful when the rescue package passed that there would be some quick and immediate assistance to the states in dealing with these foreclosure issues. Thus far, little has happened, at least in terms of it getting down to the state level so that we can gain access to these resources. We saw this foreclosure problem probably earlier than most other states. Ohio was hit early and hit very hard. And one of the things that we did was develop a compact, and we went to these mortgage loan servicers and as forcefully as we could, urged them to join us in signing a compact to work with us as a state so that homeowners could have an opportunity to work out their loans, stay in their homes. And a number of these large loan servicers did cooperate with us. We did some other things. We started holding regional meetings where we would bring together servicers and homeowners, counselors. We have over 1,000 attorneys that are providing pro bono work because we discovered that most homeowners facing foreclosure had no access to legal counsel to know what their rights were and how to protect themselves. So we've done some of these things, but we think we need more help from the federal level. And we think that this bailout package, whatever must be done to get assistance to the states as quickly as possible must be done. It hasn't happened yet. And I would hope, and I know other governors would hope, that there would be a laser-like focus on taking these resources and these tools that are now available, apparently, and use them so that people don't languish as they are. Your idea to have a 90-day moratorium on foreclosures is absolutely a common sense approach to this. It will give you time. It will give you time and the Congress time to help fashion the rules that will enable us to use these resources in meaningful ways. We also have a program called Save the Dream, and it's a partnership that we've developed with all of our state agencies, and we're trying to pull in these lenders because we think they've got a responsibility. Many of these homeowners were deceived, they were misled, they found themselves in circumstances that through no fault of their own, that they were unable to live up to and to meet their obligations. I understand the need for Wall Street to get some assistance, but as a governor, I am waiting for that effort to trickle down to the state and to the homeowners so that we can actually do that.
continue to see our students lagging behind by a lot of measures. Now, there are still the best schools in the world here in the United States. We still have the best universities by far. That's really the crown jewel of our economy, is our university and community college system. But if we're honest with ourselves, we have been talking about fixing our education system now for decades, and we really haven't made much progress. We've seen those success work, and I want to call on Governor Ritter because, for example, I visited a extraordinary charter school in Denver that created a series of small schools that have been a huge school, and they had a 50% dropout rate out of high school. They now have a 100% graduation rate. All of their kids are going to college. This is a largely Latino school. But what happened is you have leadership that transformed the culture inside the schools. What are you seeing on the ground as a governor, and how could the federal government be most helpful on making sure that education is at the front burner?
School environment, you have a lot of suggestions that come from people with that. The most serious thing is that we are serious about two things: investing and reform. I think we quit treating the education system as a place where we really think about investment and a return on investment. If you invest in schools and if you invest in reform, then at the end of the day, we'll change our graduation rates. We are at risk. As my generation, I'm 52 years old, my generation may be the first generation whose children are less well educated than we are, if you just think about it in terms of the number of higher ed degrees. But you can transform that by saying that the education system has to be kid-centered, and what we've done is start at the very earliest stages and say we're not going to have any at-risk kid who doesn't have preschool available to them in Colorado. You can triple the graduation rate for at-risk kids by putting them into preschool and when they're 3 and 4. Because if you start behind, you stay behind, but if you start with the crowd, you stay with the crowd, and it's just proven it. So the graduation rate changes for at-risk kids.